Today, you'll learn English with the news. We'll read a news article together on how Messi has made history by becoming a World Cup top scorer. If you can understand this article, your English is excellent. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. Our headline: Lionel Messi makes history as the World Cup's all-time top scorer. So let's talk about makes history. So here our verb is make, conjugated with our subject. He makes history. If you make history, it means you do something so important or so remarkable, it becomes part of history. So imagine if you're starting a new business or you have an idea for an invention. You might say, this is going to make history. And notice they use the preposition as to introduce how he made history. What did he do that was so important or remarkable? So it's as the World Cup's all-time top scorer. So scorer is someone who scores. And in this case, score a goal. Now, top scorer means the highest. All time, of course, since the beginning of the World Cup. You could say Messi made history. So notice I'm conjugating my verb in the past simple. Messi made history by scoring. So it's focusing on how he did it with the action by scoring the most World Cup goals of all time. There are always different ways of saying the same thing in English. So it's a great exercise to push yourself and to challenge yourself. Don't worry about taking these notes. I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. Now let's keep reading together. If this World Cup has proved anything so far, it's that Lionel Messi is still capable of being one of the best players in the world. So here we have our superlative, best. And with the superlative, remember you need your article, the best, the best. Now notice players is plural, but we have one of the best players in the world. This is a very common grammatical structure in English, but I see a lot of mistakes with it because students forget that the category needs to be plural, and also the noun that would come next, if there is a noun, would be singular because it's conjugated with one. So think of it as you have the category where there are many, but then you take one out. And that's your subject, which is why it's singular. You can write this sentence where you need to use a verb after by saying one of, which is a very common way to start. One of the best players, again, our category is plural, in the world is. So this is our singular verb because it's conjugated with one, which of course is singular, is, and then you state the name of the player. In the context of soccer, football, it's Messi. Now, like I said, this is a very common grammatical structure, especially in icebreakers, networking events, first dates, getting to know someone, and your IELTS. For example, one of my favorite ice cream flavors, this is the category, flavors, is singular verb to match one, and fill in the blank. Share it in the comments. I want to know what your favorite ice cream flavor is, or at least one of your favorite ice cream flavors. Let's keep going. Before we do, just notice Messi is capable of, and then we have our gerund. So the sentence structure is to be capable of. And now you could just have something or doing something. So doing is the verb. So you need your gerund verb because of is a preposition. When you're struggling to understand fast English on TV shows or movies, you might remind yourself, I'm capable of improving my listening skills, which means you have the capability. You're able to. I'm capable of, and then your verb in ing, improving my listening skills. And I know you are. Let's keep reading. The Argentines' hat trick last week against Algeria. Okay. Argentine, this describes Messi because Messi is from Argentina, so that's why it's the Argentines. It's just an alternative way of saying Messi's hat trick. And we need the, because this alone as the noun, we need to represent a specific one. The Argentines' hat trick. Hat trick belongs to the Argentine, belongs to Messi. What is a hat trick? Remember, you have to understand vocabulary in the context of whatever it is. So in this context, it's sports, and more specifically, football, soccer. So this word has a meaning specific to sports. And I did not know what it was, to be honest. But a hat trick I learned is when one single player, and maybe you already know this, one single player scores 3 goals in one game. One player, one game, 3 goals. They call that a hat trick. The Argentines' hat trick last week against Algeria. So we know last week Messi played against Algeria. Notice that preposition. You play against someone and a team plays against another team. So you use this whether it's the individual or the team. So we know Messi played against Algeria last week, and in that game, Messi scored 3 goals. All of that is communicated with this. The Argentines' hat trick last week against Algeria felt like a throwback to the forward's prime. Okay, the forward, this is also Messi. So forward is a position in soccer. So you probably know the position of goalie, the person who blocks the balls from going into the net. That is the goalie. That's the position. Just like teacher, that's my job title. So forward, goalie, those are job titles in the sports game. So to the forwards, to Messi's prime. Well, his prime in the context, again, in the context of soccer, football, is when he's playing at his best. So when he was younger, because he had more energy, he had more endurance, more flexibility, more strength when he was younger. So that was his prime. And a throwback is when you go back in time. So maybe, let's say I happen to wear a shirt that looks like it's from the 90s. And my friend might look at me and say, wow, that's a throwback. That shirt is a throwback. Or if all of a sudden I have a hairstyle from the 90s. Again, my friend could say, wow, that's a throwback, or your hairstyle is a throwback. It means it's taking me back to the 90s. It's taking me back to a specific point in time. So Messi scoring 3 goals in one single game is taking the audience, the spectators, back to 10 years ago when he was in his prime. Let me communicate this differently. Scoring 3 goals in one game, hat trick, took everyone back, throwback, to when Messi, the forward, was at his highest level of performance in his prime. Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's let's continue with our lesson. Now they give more information about Messi when he was in his prime. So imagine, go back in time to when he was in his prime, where he would, so at that time, where he would turn up, so just appear, be in a game, turn up and win a match, a game, all by himself. Notice this use of would, which is our modal. So following a modal, you use the base verb. This is a phrasal verb, but the verb is turn. The preposition is up. Both of these words together have the meaning of appear, be present. So modal plus base verb. Now, would is being used because we're back in time. And for Messi, this was a routine action in the past. Messi would win games all by himself. So not once, not twice, but as a routine when he was in his prime. Combining these together, maybe you would say, when I was in my prime. So you're letting people know the past time reference. I would go dancing. So go dancing. Dancing is in the ing form because it describes the activity. Go is the verb in the base form. Would is our modal. I would go dancing every weekend. So I didn't do this once or twice. It was a routine action when I was in my prime. I'm still in my prime. Okay, let's keep going. As brilliant as it was, so as it was, it being the hat trick. So brilliant, amazing, incredible, remarkable, different adjectives you can use. As brilliant as it was. Notice this as adjective, as to describe something. As amazing as it was also a very emotional moment for the 8-time Ballon d'Or winner. I don't know what this is, but based on context, I understand it is a recognition. It's an award. Just like in Hollywood, it would be the equivalent of the Oscars. I don't know that to be true, but I'm giving you an example of an award, the Oscars. But I imagine it's either specific to soccer or it's specific to certain sports or it's for all sports. I don't know. But I want you to understand what native speakers do when they don't understand something. We just try to understand the overall meaning. And as long as I can, I'm going to continue on without giving it a second thought. So 8-time winner. Is this really that important to the context for me? Not really. It's just strengthening the fact that Messi is a very prominent, successful player, and I understand that. So maybe you can explain what this is to me. I also understand from context it's French. So maybe it's an award specific to that the French give. So again, that's how I infer information. So it was an emotional moment. Emotional is one that causes a lot of intense emotions. So describing that, an emotional moment for the 8-time Ballon d'Or winner. Again, this is Messi. He is the 8-time Ballon d'Or winner. After the game, Messi was asked why he had started crying. So this is an example of it was so emotional, it produced tears. He had started crying. So notice the verb structure. This is the past perfect continuous. Generally with the verb cry, we put it in the continuous form. So instead of someone asking me if my eyes are all red and puffy and my friend walks in, she wouldn't say, "Did you cry?" She would say, "Were you crying? Have you been crying?" So instead of "have you cried," "have you been crying?" Did you cry? Were you crying? To talk more about the continuous nature. But that is not grammatically required to put the verb cry in the ing form. So for example, think of an emotional movie. The first one that comes to my mind is, well, actually two. The movie The Notebook and The Titanic. So I'm sure you've seen The Titanic, maybe not The Notebook. So The Titanic. Did you cry? Did you cry when you watched The Titanic? So that's how I would use did you cry? But in the context of talking about it, we're more likely to use the ing form with the verb cry to show the continuation of the action. Remember that the past perfect or the past perfect continuous is used when you have two past actions and the earlier past action, so the older action, is in the past perfect continuous. The second action, the newer past action, is in the past simple. Messi was asked why he had started crying on the pitch. This is in North America, we call it a field, on the field, after scoring his first goal of the game. Notice after is our preposition. That's why scoring is in the ing form. You could also use the subject and then verb. The verb would be conjugated after he scored because it's also in the past simple. After he scored his first goal of the game. But thinking about this past perfect continuous, remember that this has to be the earlier past action. So this is not the second past action because he scored the first goal and then he cried. So this actually happened after this. So if this is the earlier past action, it was just simply the fact that he was asked. That's the second past action. So the order would be he scored a goal, his first goal of the game. He started crying. A reporter asked him why. That would be the chronological order, first, second, third. Let's keep reading. I went through. So it's in quotation marks. We know that Messi is saying this because he was the last subject referenced. I went through some difficult days. Messi told reporters. So to go, this is the verb conjugated in the past simple. I went through some difficult days. So it's in the past simple. So maybe the time reference is before the World Cup started. I went through some difficult days. We use to go through a negative time. So some difficult days represents a negative time. And go through simply means experience. But we use this specifically with negative situations. I'm going through a divorce. You don't say, I'm going through a marriage or I'm going through a wedding because that's positive. But I'm going through a divorce. I'm going through a breakup. I'm going through a job loss. I'm going through a promotion. No, it sounds weird because we only use go through with negative things. I went through some difficult days, Messi told reporters, without revealing any other details. Reveal means to share publicly. Now, Messi, when he tells this to reporters, he's also telling the entire world. So he kept it vague. Vague means not specific. Well, difficult days, what does that mean? Is it because of his romantic relationship, his kids, his family, his health, the health of a loved one? We don't know. That's vague, not specific. So without revealing any other details. But shortly after the game, the reasons became clear. So if it became clear, then we understand the reasons. Last week, his family released a statement in which they said that Jorge Messi, the superstar's father, so Messi's father, was going through a health situation. So again, this is very vague because what is a health situation? All we know that it's something negative because you don't go through something positive. You go through something negative. So a health situation, that's all we know. So something negative relating to the health of Messi's father. And they released a statement. A statement is an official public communication. It can be a verbal statement or it can be a written statement. We don't know based on this context. The family also asked people to avoid rumors. A rumor would be, did you hear that Jorge Messi has terminal cancer? So sharing information and usually facts about the situation that are not confirmed as true. So notice I said, what did I say? Terminal cancer, perhaps? I can't remember. Something related to cancer. Not to laugh about that, but going through terminal cancer. So that's a rumor because I just added that. I have no reason to think it was that other than the fact that it's a rumor. Speculation is similar to a rumor, but a rumor is usually presented as fact. So when I say to you, did you hear that Jorge Messi has terminal cancer? I'm not letting you know that I don't know that this is true. Speculation is, did you hear that Jorge Messi is sick? I think it's terminal cancer. Or I bet it's terminal cancer. Based on his age and based on where he lives, based on his lifestyle, I bet is terminal cancer. So speculation, you are making predictions. It's not fact, but it's more based on reasoning or evidence that you try to collect. So you present it more as you don't know it to be true. After misinformation, so what I just shared would be misinformation about the situation had spread. So notice, the verb is spread. You spread rumors and you spread speculation. You can also spread misinformation. You can spread gossip. Spread in terms of if this is bread and this is butter, it means to cover entirely. So imagine this is the audience, this is your message, and you're taking your message and you're sharing it with all your coworkers, all your friends, all your family. So that is the visualization for spread, rumor, speculation, or misinformation, or gossip. Let's keep reading. And yet, despite all that on his mind, so all that represents what was just shared. The health situation, the family dealing with it, the emotions with that, despite all that on his mind. Despite is when you disregard, you don't consider. So when he's on the pitch, the field, when he's playing the game, he has to be focused on the game. He can't be thinking about his father or supporting his mother. So that's despite all that on his mind, all the things that he's going through. Messi is expected to take on the weight of expectation. The weight of expectation, first of all, take on means to accept, So if you take on a project or a task, a responsibility, you accept it. The weight of expectation, well, just think, if you know that Messi is playing a game, you expect him to perform a certain way. Everybody does. His team does, his coach does, his fans do, his family does, his opponents do. So imagine all of that is sitting on his shoulders, and it's weight. So that's what you can imagine, the weight of expectation. You experience this too. You have the weight of expectation from your family, friends, boss, all the people in your life. You don't have to be a celebrity to have the weight of expectation on you. Messi is expected to take on the weight of expectation again, so meaning he did it before, again against Austria. So Austria is the opponent. The opponent is who you are competing against. So notice that preposition. You compete against a team or a person. And when you compete against that team or person is your opponent. Against Austria in his nation's second match of the tournament. So this is the second game he has played. Nation's second match of the tournament being the World Cup, of course. Let's keep reading. It's incredible that Messi started such a tournament with a hat trick. Absolutely insane. Austria captain David Alba said. Okay, so this is the opponent, but he's saying positive things about Messi. Why not? Messi is a great player. So just because you're an opponent of someone, it doesn't mean you don't have positive things to say about them. So this is a very youthful expression. I imagine that David Alba is in his prime. He's probably youthful. Absolutely insane to remark on something so incredible, so remarkable that it almost defies logic. That's insane. So even if you say something simple like last night I worked for 16 hours, that's insane. So it doesn't have to be anything record breaking. It could just be a regular work thing, or even in a different context. If you tell me you did 10 loads of laundry yesterday, wow, that's insane. 10 loads of laundry. I only do one a week. I can't imagine doing 10 in one day. So I'm just sharing these everyday examples because you don't have to reserve this for something record breaking. So it's incredible that Messi started such a tournament with a hat trick. So you know what this is. Notice it's a noun, a hat trick. Absolutely insane. Austria captain David Alba said, per Reuters. Per Reuters means that this quote originally appeared in Reuters. Per Reuters about the threat the superstar poses. So Reuters, a media company, asked the captain of the opposing team of Austria, what do you think about your opponent Messi? Or what do you think about the threat that Messi poses? Notice that's the collocation. Something poses a threat. Right now, people are concerned because AI poses a threat. So a threat is a potential for harm. It doesn't mean that it will harm. It's just that there's the potential. Now, harm does not have to be physical, of course. In the sense of AI, it could harm people's livelihoods by taking their job. In the case of this context with David Alba, it could harm Austria by taking the win. So that's how it could harm. Using pose and threat in the same sentence, you may say many believe that AI poses a threat. So AI, the subject is singular, our verb is pose conjugated with AI, and threat is a noun, which is why we have a threat, a potential harm, danger, or risk. Let's keep reading. We know what kind of opponent. I already taught you this. So the opponent. But in this case, it's David Alba. So the opponent is Messi or Argentina as the entire team. We know what kind of opponent we're up against. To be or to go up against. So you could say, maybe if you're in a business context, you have a small company, a small store, and you sell jewelry, okay? And you have to say, well, we have to go up against Amazon or whatever a major jewelry company is. We have to be up against Amazon or whatever the company, major jewelry company is. So to be or to go up against. To be describes the current state, and then to go just describes that transition. We know what kind of opponent we're up against. We have to compete against. What kind of quality they have in their ranks. So just on the team is their ranks. Even besides Messi. So he's the captain of the opponent, is acknowledging that Messi isn't the only superstar, the only great player besides Messi. So acknowledging that there are others in their ranks on the team, but also what they're capable of as a team. And we already learned this at the very beginning, to be capable of something as a team. And that's the end of the article. So now I'll read the article from start to finish, and you can focus on my pronunciation. Lionel Messi makes history as the World Cup's all-time top scorer. If this World Cup has proved anything so far, it's that Lionel Messi is still capable of being one of the best players in the world. The Argentines' hat trick last week against Algeria felt like a throwback to the forward's prime, where he would turn up and win a match all by himself. As brilliant as it was also a very emotional moment for the 8-time Ballon d'Or winner. After the game, Messi was asked why he had started crying on the pitch after scoring his first goal of the game. "I went through some difficult days," Messi told reporters, without revealing any other details. But shortly after the game, the reasons became clear. Last week, his family released a statement in which they said that Jorge Messi, the superstar's father, was going through a health situation. The family also asked people to avoid rumors and speculation after misinformation about the situation had spread. And yet, despite all that on his mind, Messi is expected to take on the weight of expectation again against Austria in his nation's second match of the tournament. It's incredible that Messi started such a tournament with a hat trick. Absolutely insane, Austria captain David Alaba said, per Reuters, about the threat the superstar poses. "We know what kind of opponent we're up against, what kind of quality they have in their ranks, even besides Messi, but also what they're capable of as a team." Amazing job with this lesson. Do you want to keep learning English with the news? If you do, put yes, 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 put yes, yes, yes in the comments below. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And here's another lesson I know you'll love. Watch it now.